A few moments later.
Hello and welcome, David here from Blitz Breakdown Chess. Today, I'm going to be breaking down this absolutely fascinating and entertaining game played between Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces and Arjun Erigaisi with the black pieces. Without any further ado, let's jump into it. We start off with one e4, c5, knight to f3, and e6, which is the Sicilian defense. And it's not just any Sicilian. We have the Kramnik variation. So I'll throw in an obligatory Kramnik reference.
Okay, let's do the procedure. Block.
Not really relevant, but I thought I'd throw that in there for fun. Okay, let's continue. We have takes, and now after the players develop, we have the first meaningful deviation from theory, where we have knight to c2. And this is where things start to get very, very spicy, because Erigaisi follows up with queen to b6, a very sensible move, putting pressure on f2, and now Carlsen plays queen to d2 to defend the square, but the follow-up of knight to g4 puts more pressure on f2. And this line, I have to say, I had not seen at all. In fact, it seems there were only 3 games in the database that have reached this position. And looking at it on face value, it looks like black is absolutely crushing. But there is a very counterintuitive move that keeps equality, and that is the move f3. Just allowing the knight to jump into f2. Really, really bizarre. And now we have basically black dominating all of the dark squares. But the only reason that this position is holdable and playable for white is because of the next move that Carlsen follows up with, and that's knight to a4. And that puts pressure, forking the queen and the bishop, and is going to remove some of the pressure on these dark squares. So you're going to capture that bishop, which is exactly what Carlsen does, but now of course you give up the rook on h1. So there's this kind of weird, you're down in exchange, but the knight is really terrible over here. You're probably going to pick it up at some point. But there is a serious threat if you're playing now with white, and that is black is going to capture, would love to capture on h2 and give itself a flight square for the knight to escape via g3. And to prevent this, Carlsen plays on another, on face value, very sensible move. He plays queen to f4. But after playing queen to f4, a little bit of time passes and you can see that Carlsen starts to realize that this is a massive blunder and is thinking,
I've made a huge mistake.
we've all been there. We know the feeling of a blunder. And how, in this position, playing with the black pieces, are you going to punish white? Very, very simple. One move combination. And that is the move queen to a5. Queen to a5 is devastating. And why is queen to a5 so devastating? Because there's a check, which you have to deal with, and your knight is completely out of position here on c5, and you're going to lose that knight. So Carlsen had seen this and obviously realized the mistake that he had made, which is why he immediately responds with b4, blocking. But unfortunately, it's kind of not really going to do anything because you can just capture with the knight. And now the amount of threats that you're facing with white, they are innumerable, right? You have to consider the fact that your king's under fire. You have to consider the fact that this knight is hanging, this knight is hanging. There was some talk about this move over here, knight to b3 as an option, knight to b3 attacking the queen. But of course here you can throw in a check, and after the king moves, Vishy Anand was showing this line in the commentary live. You throw in another check, move the king forward, and now you capture the queen with check, and you don't have time to recapture with the white pieces. You have to just move, and after the queen moves back, you can't even recapture the knight. Black is just up a full queen. Instead, Carlsen moves his king to d1 to get out of the firing line so that this discovery is no longer possible. And we have this check anyway, and now captures, attacking the rook on a1. And here you can't even play, there are basically almost no moves that you can play. The main threat that Carlsen is worried about is the fact that queen to e1 is coming. So to prevent queen to e1, he lifts the bishop and puts more pressure on this knight, maybe trying to pick it up. But really, there's very, very little you can do here to defend. And Carlsen essentially throwing all of his pieces in the way for the sake of king's safety at this point. A couple of moves later, Carlsen plays this really ambitious knight sacrifice, trying to maybe see if he can get something going after takes, maybe playing something like queen to c6. But here, the devastating capturing on c4 with check, attacking the knight, and yeah, that's basically all she wrote. So a really, really fascinating string of moves, and I think here it was pretty impressive to see how incredibly accurately Erigaisi finished off Carlsen, and it's also quite refreshing to see Carlsen occasionally losing in this fashion, because I'm sure for all of us this is like such a familiar feeling of misplaying an opening and just getting completely destroyed, and it happens to the best of them. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's going to be a wrap from me today. And if you are interested in supporting the channel, as I mentioned in the previous video, 3 ways you can do that: subscribe, like, and also if you're interested in some really cool merch, you can check out my store. Recently uploaded some cool designs called Under Promote Inc. That's like a new design sort of brand that I'm working on. Take a look at the designs, let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys all very soon.